The wind screamed across the frozen wasteland like an angry beast. Danny pulled his thermal hood tighter around his face and tried to see through the wall of white snow. He was 14 years old, and he still thought walking in Alaskan blizzards was better than sitting through another boring video lesson about space trade routes. His boots crunched through the ice with each step. The research station sat 2 miles behind him now. It was barely visible as a dim glow through the storm. His parents would be so angry if they knew he had wandered this far from home. But Danny needed the quiet and the space to think. Living in a building full of alien scientists was not easy. There were constant weird noises at all hours. Strange smells filled the hallways, and the creatures that lived there looked at him like he was the weird one. Sometimes Danny just needed to get away from it all. Something glinted blue in the snow ahead. Danny stopped walking and wiped the ice from his goggles. The light pulsed softly, then it moved. It was not a light. It was footprints. Small tracks that glowed with a soft blue light. He knelt down in the snow and brushed it away from the strange footprints. They were crystalline and glowing. Each print was small, maybe the size of his palm. They had 4 toes and tiny claw marks at the tips. The tracks led away from what looked like a crash site. Pieces of metal stuck out of a snowdrift. They were still warm enough to melt the ice around them. Danny followed the glowing trail. His curiosity was stronger than his common sense. His parents always told him that curiosity would get him in trouble one day. Maybe today was that day, but he could not stop himself. The track stopped at a small ice cave formed by 2 fallen boulders. Danny pulled out his flashlight and pointed it inside the dark space. 2 golden eyes stared back at him. They were huge and terrified and definitely not human. The creature was about the size of a house cat. It was covered in scales that shifted from purple to dull gray as Danny watched. It had wings folded tight against its body, a long tail wrapped around itself. The creature was shaking so hard its whole body vibrated. Frost covered its scales like a death blanket. Danny recognized it right away. His parents had shown him pictures during their alien biology lessons. This was a star wing from Pyro 7, a moon with volcanoes and lava rivers. The temperatures there were hot enough to melt lead. This little dragon was dying in the cold. The star wing made a sound like wind chimes breaking. It was a desperate chirping that went straight to Danny's heart. Its golden eyes locked onto his face. Danny felt something he could not explain. It was like a pull, a connection between them. The creature was begging him for help without using any words. Every training lesson his parents had drilled into his head said not to touch unknown alien life. Do not interfere. Do not make contact. Report and observe from a safe distance. Those were the rules. But those rules were written by people who had never looked into eyes filled with pure terror and hope mixed together. Those people had never stood in a blizzard watching something innocent die when they could help. Danny unzipped his thermal jacket and reached into cave. The star wing did not pull away. It did not try to bite or scratch. Instead, it crawled forward on trembling legs and pressed its freezing body against Danny's gloved hand. The cold of its scales burned his skin, even to the thick glove. He scooped the creature up carefully and tucked it inside his jacket against his chest. The starwing's tiny claws dug into his shirt, holding on tight. Danny barely noticed the sharp points. The dragon was so cold it felt like holding a block of ice against his body. He zipped the jacket around the creature and started running back toward the research station. Every step was a battle. The storm fought him with everything it had. Wind pushed him backward. Snow filled his tracks as fast as he made them. It was like the blizzard did not want him to make it home. The star wing chirped weakly against his chest. Danny could feel its tiny heart beating too slow, like a clock winding down. The creature was dying in his arms, and he ran faster. He reached the station side entrance and slipped through the airlock. Warm air hit his face, and he gasped in relief. The dragon in his jacket stirred slightly, making confused sounds. Danny pulled off his gloves and felt the creature through his jacket. It was still ice cold, but warming slowly. Getting to his room, without anyone seeing, was the hard part. He took the maintenance stairs instead of the main hallway. He ducked past a recreation area where 3 floating jellyfish aliens were watching Earth movies. They did not notice him sneaking by. His door slid open, and he rushed inside, locking it behind him. Danny pulled the Starwing out carefully and set it on his bed. The creature looked even worse in the light. Its scales were completely gray now, almost white. Ice crystals had formed on its wing membranes. It tried to lift its head, but could not. Danny grabbed every heating pad and thermal blanket he owned. He created a warm nest on his bed and placed a dragon in the center. He cranked the heating pads to maximum temperature. Then he pulled the heat lamp from his old terrarium and aimed it directly at the creature. The Starwing's eyes followed him weakly. Danny sat next to it and very carefully stroked one finger down its head. The scales felt like frozen glass under his touch. For 20 long minutes, nothing changed. Danny started to panic. What if he was too late? What if the dragon needed special medicine or food or something he could not provide? What if he had just brought it inside to die in comfort instead of alone in the snow? Then he noticed something. The scales near the heat lamp were changing. They were shifting from gray to purple, just a small patch at first. The Starwing took a deeper breath. Then another. Its tail twitched slightly. Danny turned the heat lamp up higher. The purple color spread across the dragon's body, like ink dropping into water. Gold highlights appeared along the wing edges. The creature's eyes grew brighter. It lifted its head properly for the first time. It looked at Danny and made a soft cooing sound. Then it crawled forward on steadier legs and pressed its head against Danny's hand. The scales were warm now, almost hot to the touch. Danny felt that strange connection again, but stronger this time. It was like the dragon was saying thank you in a language deeper than words. Danny smiled and scratched under its chin. The Starwing's eyes half closed in pleasure. It started making a sound like a cat purring mixed with crackling fire. The sound filled the small room with warmth. He needed to name it. The dragon chirped again, making a high-pitched pip sound. Danny laughed. Pip, that name fits you perfectly. Pip seemed to approve of the name. The little dragon curled up in Danny's lap and wrapped its tail around his wrist like a warm bracelet. Within minutes, Pip was fast asleep. Its scales glowed faintly purple and gold in the lamplight. Danny grabbed his data pad to research Starwing care. Then he froze. A news alert flashed across the screen. Alien transport crashes in Arctic region. Galactic Wildlife Authority searching for survivors. Multiple exotic creatures missing. 3 weeks of lying felt like 3 years to Danny. He sat at his desk, pretending to focus on homework, while Pip explored the heating vent for the 100th time. The little dragon had grown from cat-sized to small dog-sized. Hiding something that big in a 12 by 15-foot room was getting harder every single day. Pip chirped and dove out of the vent. The dragon spread wings that now had a 2-foot span. Pip glided across the room and landed on Danny's shoulder, nearly knocking him out his chair. Warm scales pressed against his neck as Pip nuzzled his ear affectionately. Danny laughed and pushed the dragon's snout away gently. You're getting too big for that, buddy. Pip made a sad sound. Danny immediately felt guilty. But it was not just regular guilt. He actually felt Pip's sadness like it was his own emotion. The connection between them had grown stronger each day. Now Danny could sense the dragon's feelings as clearly as his own thoughts. When Danny was stressed about algebra homework, Pip would curl around his shoulders and purr until the tension melted away. When Danny laughed at funny videos, Pip's scales would shimmer and glow brighter, reflecting the joy back. They were linked somehow. They were bonded in a way Danny did not fully understand, but he could not imagine living without it now. His data pad beeped with a message from his mom. Dinner in 20 minutes. Why is your room using 3 times normal power? Danny's stomach dropped. He had been so careful about everything else. But the heating bills were going to expose his secret. Pip needed temperatures around 90 degrees to be comfortable. That meant running heaters constantly. He typed back quickly. Been really cold lately. Think I'm getting sick. Pip tilted its head, golden eyes full of worry. The dragon could sense Danny's anxiety and pressed closer, trying to comfort him. Danny scratched under Pip's chin and felt the dragon's pleasure mix with his own relief. The connection worked both ways, feeding emotions back and forth like a loop. A knock on the door made them both freeze. Pip's scales instantly shifted to match the blue-gray color of the walls. It was a camouflage reflex Danny had discovered by accident. The dragon leaped silently onto the heating vent and held perfectly still, becoming almost invisible. Danny opened the door a crack. Dr. Reeves stood outside. His insect-like body clicked as he shifted weight between his 6 legs. The alien's compound eyes glittered with curiosity. Danny Webb, yes? Dr. Reeves' translator gave his voice a buzzing quality. I am monitoring thermal signatures for my research. Your quarters show unusual heat patterns. Concentrated sources. Not typical human warming needs. Danny forced himself to stay calm. Pip could feel his fear through their bond. The dragon's own panic started feeding back to him, making everything worse. He took a deep breath and broke the cycle. I've been studying cold-blooded species for my biology project, Danny said, pointing at his empty terrarium, trying to understand how they handle Earth's cold temperatures. I'm using heating lamps to simulate warmer climates. Dr. Reeves' antennae twitched thoughtfully. Interesting approach, though inefficient. I will send you data on proper thermal regulation techniques. The alien left and Danny sagged against the door. Pip shimmered back to purple and gold colors, launching across the room to press against Danny's chest. The dragon was trembling. Danny held Pip close and felt the fear dissolve into relief on both sides of their bond. They had gotten away with it again. But the close calls were happening too frequently now. Danny spent the next hour researching starwing biology on the station's database. He used his parents' access codes to get into restricted files. What he found made his chest feel tight with worry. Starwings were highly intelligent and deeply empathic creatures. They formed lifelong bonds with a single chosen companion. They shared emotions and eventually even thoughts with their bonded partner. Baby starwings separated from their clutch needed that bond to survive. Without emotional connection and support, they would waste away even with perfect physical care. Pip had not just chosen Danny randomly. Pip actually needed Danny to live and grow properly. The database also showed something called severance syndrome. Forced separation from a bonded companion caused a starwing to stop eating. Their scales would turn dull and gray. They would die within weeks. Even companions suffered badly, experiencing phantom pains and emotional emptiness that could last for years. Danny looked at Pip, who was playing with a ball of yarn and making happy chirping sounds. The dragon grabbed the yarn in its teeth and brought it to Danny like a gift. Its tail wagged like a puppy's tail. Pip looked so innocent and happy. His data pad beeped again. His father this time. Family meeting after dinner. Important. Danny's heart sank like a stone. Pip sensed the change immediately and dropped the yarn. The dragon pressed close, and warmth flooded through their bond. Pip was trying to push away the dread that Danny felt. Dinner was awkward and tense. Danny pushed food around his plate, while his parents exchanged worried looks. His mother worked on her datapad. His father kept clearing his throat like he wanted to say something, but could not find the right words. Finally, his dad set down his fork. We need to talk about what's in your room. Danny's appetite disappeared completely. I don't know what you mean. His mother turned her datapad around to face him. The screen showed thermal imaging of the entire station. Danny's room glowed bright red. There was a small moving heat signature that was definitely not human-shaped. I'm a xenobiologist, Danny, his mother said quietly. She did not sound angry. She sounded sad. I know what a starwing's heat signature looks like. How long have you had it? 3 weeks, Danny whispered, since the transport crash. His father rubbed his face tiredly. The Galactic Wildlife Authority is still searching for survivors. They recovered 12 creatures so far. All of them are being returned to their home worlds or proper sanctuaries. Pip doesn't go anywhere. Danny stood up fast, his fists clenched tight. We're bonded. Separation will kill him. His parents looked at each other with meaningful expressions. His mother spoke carefully, choosing her words. Sweetheart, we know about starwing bonding, but you're only 14 years old. The GWA won't recognize a bond formed with a minor, especially a human minor. They'll say you influenced a vulnerable infant creature. I saved his life. Danny's voice rose with emotion. He was freezing to death out there, and I brought him inside. He chose me first. His father's voice was gentle but firm. We believe you, son. But galactic law is very complicated. Unregistered alien creatures can't stay on Earth without proper documentation and permits. The penalties for harboring them are extremely severe. We could all face serious consequences. Danny felt tears burning his eyes, threatening to fall. So, what? You're just going to turn him in? Report him like he's lost property that needs to be returned? His mother stood and hugged him tightly. No, we're going to help you. But we need time to figure out how to do this legally. The GWA is conducting final sweeps of the area this week. If they find Pip during their search, they'll take him immediately. We won't have any say in the matter at all. Danny's eyes burned from 2 days of reading legal documents. The texts were written in languages his translator barely understood. Pip slept curled around his neck like a scaly scarf. The dragon occasionally made small dream sounds. Pip had barely left his side since learning they might be separated, but Danny had found something. Deep in the Galactic Accord on Sentient Species Rights, subsection 12, paragraph 47, there was a clause, the Companion Bond Clause. If a creature formed a genuine psychic bond, forced separation could be considered torture under interstellar law. The bond had to be proven real, not just claimed. His father knocked and entered the room. The Interspecies Council agreed to hear your case. Tomorrow morning at 1000 hours. Danny's stomach flipped over with nervousness. Pip woke up and chirped anxiously, sensing his fear through their connection. What if they don't believe me? Danny asked quietly. His dad sat on the bed beside him. Then we fight harder. Your mother is gathering medical evidence right now. Biometric scans, brain wave patterns, everything that proves your bond is real and genuine. You just have to present your case well. The next morning, Danny stood in the station's council chamber. He wore his best clothes and tried hard not to shake. Pip perched on his shoulder. The dragon scales shifted between purple and gray with anxiety. Their shared nervousness made both of them worse. His mother squeezed his hand gently, and the cycle broke. 5 aliens sat at the curved council bench. Ambassador Trell, a reptilian from a high-gravity world, occupied the center seat. His scales were deep green and his eyes were sharp and intelligent. To his left sat Dr. Reeve, the insect-like scientist Danny had lied to weeks ago. On the right was a floating jellyfish creature from Aqueous 12. Next to it sat a crystalline being that looked like living glass. A furred mammalian alien Danny did not recognize completed the council. Ambassador Trell spoke first. His translator rendered his hissing speech into perfect English. Daniel Webb, human child, you stand accused of harboring an unregistered alien creature. This violates Galactic Wildlife Protection Act 379. How do you plead? Danny's voice cracked slightly. Not guilty. Pip isn't an unregistered creature. He's my bonded companion. The crystalline alien made a sound like wind chimes. A human child bonding with a starwing? Impossible. They require precise heat, careful nutrition, and emotional stability. Deathworlders cannot provide such delicate care. Danny felt anger flash through him. He immediately felt Pip's matching anger through their bond. I've kept Pip alive for 3 weeks. He's healthy and growing and happy. That's more than he'd get being locked in some sanctuary alone. His mother stepped forward and placed a data chip on the council's reader. Medical evidence. Synchronized heart rates when in close proximity. Matching brain wave patterns during rest periods. Emotional resonance verified by 3 independent scanners. The bond is scientifically proven and real. The jellyfish alien pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. My species also bonds deeply. I recognize the signs here. But the child is young. How do we know this bond formed naturally and not through manipulation or coercion? Danny wanted to argue and shout, but his father had coached him carefully. Stay calm. Stick to facts. Let the evidence speak for itself. I found Pip freezing to death in a blizzard, Danny said clearly. I brought him inside and warmed him up. I didn't know Starwings bonded with people. I just knew he needed help, and I could provide it. Ambassador Trell studied Danny with unreadable reptilian eyes. Show us this bond. Demonstrate its strength for the council. Danny nodded. A technician placed a transparent barrier between him and Pip. The dragon immediately panicked. Its scales flashed through colors rapidly as it tried to reach Danny. Danny felt Pip's fear spike through their connection. His own chest tightened in painful response. Within seconds, both of them were in serious distress. Danny's heart rate jumped on the medical monitors. Pip's scales dulled to ash gray. The dragon's body temperature dropped 5 degrees in less than a minute. Danny felt actual physical pain in his chest, like someone was squeezing his heart with an iron fist. Ambassador Trell watched the medical monitors carefully. Enough. Remove the barrier immediately. The barrier dropped. Pip launched at Danny like a missile, wrapping around him and trembling violently. Danny held the dragon close. He felt their shared relief wash through the bond like warm water. Both their heart rates slowed together, synchronized perfectly on the monitors. The furred alien spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft. I have witnessed many bonds in my long life. This one is genuine and deep. The question is whether it should be allowed to continue. Dr. Reeves' antennae twitched. The human child did violate protocol by not reporting the creature immediately upon discovery. Danny's father stood up tall. My son saved a dying infant. Punishing compassion sends a terrible message about what we value as a galactic community. The council members conferred quietly among themselves. Danny held Pip and tried not to hope too hard. The dragon nuzzled his cheek gently. Danny felt love flowing through their bond, pure and uncomplicated and real. Ambassador Trell raised a hand for silence. We are prepared to vote on this matter. A communication alert interrupted him. The large view screen activated suddenly. It showed a massive dragon with silver and gold scales. Even through the screen, her presence was commanding and powerful. Pip made a small, frightened sound and pressed closer to Danny. I am High Priestess Arata of the Pyroian Dragon Collective, the dragon said. Her voice was deep and ancient. I speak for all Starwings. We have been informed a human child claims bond with one of our young. This cannot stand. Ambassador Trell's back spines rattled nervously. Priestess Arata, we were conducting an official investigation before making any decisions. The investigation is irrelevant, Sarada interrupted firmly. All Starwings belong with their own kind. This human is too young, too short-lived, and too fragile to properly care for a dragon. We demand the infant's immediate return to Pyro 7. Danny felt his world crumbling around him. Pip's fear mixed with his own until he could not tell where one ended and the other began. The dragon tried to climb inside his jacket, making desperate chirping sounds. His mother stepped forward bravely. With respect, Priestess, forced separation from a bonded companion has a 90% fatality rate in young Starwings. Your own medical texts confirm this fact. Sarada's eyes blazed with anger. Then the bond should never have formed in the first place. The human interfered with natural development. He saved Pip's life. Danny shouted, unable to stay quiet anymore. He was dying in the snow, and I brought him inside to safety. I didn't force anything. Be silent, child. The ancient dragon studied him through the screen. Words are easy, but you know nothing of Starwing needs or culture. You cannot comprehend what you have disrupted with your actions. Ambassador Trell looked troubled. Priestess, this council has proper jurisdiction over matters on Earth. The Pyroian Collective has authority over all Starwings regardless of location, Sarada said firmly. The shuttle landed in a blast of superheated air that melted snow 50 feet in every direction. Danny watched through the station window as two massive Starwings emerged. Each dragon was the size of a small truck. Pip pressed against the glass, scales flickering with colors Danny had never seen before. Fear and recognition mixed through their bond. High Priestess Arata was stunning and terrifying at the same time. Her scales shifted between silver and gold. Her eyes held centuries of wisdom and judgment. Behind her walked a crimson dragon, younger but no less impressive. Muscles rippled under scarlet scales. Danny's father placed a hand on his shoulder. That's Drake Master Udo, her guardian. Be respectful, but don't back down. Dragons respect strength. The meeting room felt too small with two massive dragons inside. Sarada settled her boat carefully while Udo remained standing. His wings were half spread in a protective stance. Pip hid behind Danny's legs, peeking out nervously. Sarada's voice was melodic, even through the translator. "So this is the infant. Come here, little one." Pip whimpered and pressed closer to Danny. The dragon's fear flooded their bond. Danny knelt down and scratched behind Pip's ears gently. "It's okay. She won't hurt you." Pip slowly crept forward on trembling legs. Sarada lowered her massive head and sniffed the baby dragon, making a deep humming sound. Pip chirped back uncertainly. "He is healthy," Sarada admitted. "Better than expected for one so young separated from his clutch. But physical health is not the measure of proper care." Danny stood up straight and looked the ancient dragon in the eyes. "What do you want me to prove?" Sarada's gaze fixed on him intensely. Starwings have bonded with many species across millennia. Fire breathers, magma dwellers, heat-resistant crystalline beings, never with water-world softskins, who live mere decades. Your kind are too fragile, too short-lived, too fundamentally incompatible. Udo spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and rough. "My own companion lived 300 years. I am still young by dragon standards. How can you promise to care for a being who will outlive you 5 times over?" Danny felt the weight of that question. Pip would live for centuries. Danny would be lucky to see 80 years. Through their bond, he felt Pip's sudden fear of being alone. "I can't promise forever," Danny said quietly but honestly. "But I can promise right now. Every day I have, Pip has me completely. Isn't that better than centuries of being safe but alone?" Sarada was quiet for a long moment. "Pretty words. Let's see if you can back them with action. I offer you 3 challenges. Pass all 3, and I will petition for your bond's recognition. Fail even one, and the infant comes with me to Pyro 7. No second chances." Danny's mouth was dry, but he nodded firmly. "I accept." The first challenge began immediately. Sarada led them to an empty cargo bay where station engineers had assembled equipment under Udo's direction. Heat lamps, thermal regulators, and what looked like a miniature volcanic vent sat waiting. "Starwings require specific heat environments to grow properly," Sarada explained. "Too cold and we sicken. Too hot and our scales crack and break. Build a sustainable heat source that will serve this infant for the next 5 years. Danny studied the equipment carefully. His parents had taught him thermodynamics, but this was beyond anything he had done before. Pip chirped encouragingly. Danny felt confidence flowing through their bond. He spent 3 hours working with the engineers. He adjusted heat outputs and created circulation patterns. Pip tested each configuration. The dragon scales changed color to indicate comfort levels. When Pip's scales glowed bright purple gold, Danny knew he had found the right balance. Sarada examined the setup critically. "Adequate. You understand basic needs. But any technician could build this. Challenge 2 will test your heart, not your mind." They moved outside the station. The Alaskan wilderness stretched endlessly under gray skies. Udo produced a containment cube and released something that made Danny's blood freeze. An ice wolf, native to Earth's polar regions. It was twice the size of a normal wolf, with frost coating its fur and icicle teeth. The creature snarled and locked eyes on Pip. "Protect your companion," Sarada said simply. "No weapons. No calling for help. Just you and your bond." The ice wolf charged. Pip shrieked and tried to fly, but panic made the dragon clumsy. Danny did not think. He threw himself between them, spreading his arms wide. The wolf skidded to a stop, confused by prey that did not run. Danny's heart hammered in his chest, but he held his ground. Through the bond, he felt Pip's terror. He pushed back calm he did not really feel. The wolf circled slowly. Danny turned with it, keeping himself between predator and dragon. Pip landed on his shoulder, trembling and making himself an easy target. Danny reached up and pulled the dragon down, tucking Pip against his chest with one arm. The wolf lunged. Danny dove sideways and rolled, protecting Pip with his body. He came up running, heading for rocky terrain where the wolf's eyes would work against it. His boots slipped on ice, but he kept moving. The wolf was faster. It caught up and slashed at Danny's leg. Pain exploded through his calf, and he stumbled. Pip shrieked and blasted fire at the wolf, but the flame was weak and small. The wolf barely noticed. Danny's mind raced. Ice wolves were ambush predators. They relied on scent tracking. He'd grab a handful of snow and scrub it over himself and Pip, masking their scent. Then he pulled off his jacket and threw it away from them. He climbed into a crevice between rocks. The wolf followed the jacket. Danny held Pip close and felt their hearts beating together, synchronized through fear. The dragon licked his face, trying to help. Danny almost laughed despite everything. Udo activated a containment field that trapped the wolf. Sarada approached the crevice. You were injured. Danny's leg was bleeding through his pants. Pip isn't. That's what matters. Sarada helped him out of the rocks. You shielded him with your own body. Foolish. You could have died. Then I died protecting him. Danny said firmly, Isn't that what companions do? The ancient dragon's expression was unreadable. Challenge 3, the most important. Back inside, Sarada had Danny sit in a chair, while Pip curled in his lap. Medical staff bandaged his leg, but the pain was manageable. Pip kept nuzzling him worriedly. The final test is one of truth, Sarada said. I will create a telepathic maze. You must find Pip using only your bond. No sight, no sound, only the connection between your minds. She touched Danny's forehead with one claw. The world went dark and silent. Danny panicked for a moment, then forced himself calm. He reached out with his feelings, searching for Pip. Wrong directions pulled at him. Phantom emotions that felt like Pip, but were not. Danny ignored them and focused on what he knew was real. The warmth of their bond. The way Pip's happiness felt different from fear. The unique texture of the dragon's love. He walked through darkness following that feeling. It grew stronger. He heard Pip calling his name, actually speaking through their bond for the first time. Not chirps, but words formed from pure emotion. Danny found Pip at the center of the maze. The dragon glowed like a star in the darkness. They touched, and the maze dissolved. Danny opened his eyes to find tears on his face. Pip was crying too, pressed against his chest. Through their bond, Danny felt everything. Pip's fear of losing him. Love so pure it hurt. Trust absolute and unshakable. Sarada watched them with ancient eyes. I have seen many bonds in my long life. Most are relationships of convenience or necessity. This is different. This is choice made freely on both sides. She settled her bulk onto the floor. I must tell you something, young human. I too had a bonded companion once. He was short-lived like you. We had only 30 years together before age took him. Those 30 years were the most meaningful of my 300-year existence. Sarada's voice softened. I oppose your bond because I feared Pip would suffer as I did when my companion died. But I was wrong. Denying this connection out of fear of future pain is cowardice. You have proven you understand sacrifice, dedication, and love. She turned to Ambassador Trell, who had been watching silently. I, High Priestess, petition the Galactic Council to recognize the bond between this human child and the Starwing infant. Let no one separate them. Danny could not speak. Relief flooded through him so strongly that Pip glowed bright as a lamp. Their shared joy fed back and forth. Then alarms screamed through the station. Red lights flashed. Ambassador Trell's data pad lit up with urgent messages. A technician shouted. Multiple ships entering Earth's atmosphere. Galactic Wildlife Authority Enforcement Fleet. They're demanding immediate access to the station. Sarada's eyes blazed. They have no authority over recognized bonds. They don't know about the recognition yet. Udo growled. The paperwork takes days to process. Through the window, Danny saw ships descending. Big ships with weapons and shields. His mother grabbed his arm urgently. Danny, you need to hide. If they find Pip before the bond is officially recognized. She did not finish. Danny looked down at Pip, who looked back with terrified golden eyes. Through their bond, he felt the dragon's absolute certainty. If the GWA took Pip now, they would never see each other again. Danny stood up despite his injured leg. Then we run. Danny's father shoved a backpack into his arms. Emergency supplies, thermal gear, 3 days of food, medical kit. Go through the maintenance tunnels. They exit 2 miles north. Heavy footsteps echoed through the station. Authoritative voices demanded access. Pip clung to Danny's shoulder, scales flickering with camouflage instincts that would not help against thermal scanners. His mother hugged him hard. Stay in geothermal areas. Keep Pip warm. We'll stall them as long as we can. Sarada blocked the hallway with her massive body. Go, young human. I will invoke diplomatic immunity. It will buy you hours at most. Danny ran. His injured leg screamed with each step, but adrenaline pushed him forward. Pip's fear fed into his own until they were both shaking. He found a maintenance access and yanked it open, plunging into darkness. The tunnels were tight and cold. Emergency lighting flickered every 20 feet. Danny pulled out a flashlight and moved as fast as he dared. Behind him, he heard shouting and crashes, the sound of station doors being forced open. Pip chirped frantically. Through their bond, Danny felt the dragon trying to be brave for him. That made him smile despite everything. We're okay, buddy. Just a little further. The tunnel exit opened onto frozen wasteland. Wind hit Danny like a physical blow. Snow immediately began covering his tracks. Pip shuddered and burrowed into Danny's jacket, seeking warmth. The dragon was weakening already. Hover drones appeared in the sky, scanning with thermal imaging. Danny ducked behind rocks, but he knew they had spotted him. No point hiding now. He started running toward the geothermal zone his mother had mapped years ago. The storm intensified. Danny could barely see 10 feet ahead. His leg was bleeding again. Exhaustion made every step harder. Pip was shivering against his chest despite the jacket, making pitiful sounds. Danny felt the dragon's life force dimming through their bond. Cold was killing Pip slowly. A crevasse opened up without warning. Danny's boot hit empty air, and suddenly he was falling. He twisted, protecting Pip with his body as they hit an ice shelf 20 feet down. Pain exploded through his shoulder, but he kept his grip on the dragon. Pip crawled out of his jacket, chirping in distress. Danny's vision swam. His shoulder was dislocated or broken. He could not tell which. Above, hover drones circled but could not descend into the narrow crevasse. We have to move, Danny gasped. His breath made fog in the freezing air. Pip's wings spread. The dragon was bigger now than when they had met, strong enough to fly properly. Pip grabbed Danny's good arm with surprisingly strong claws and flapped hard. They rose unsteadily out of the crevasse. Pip strained with Danny's weight. They cleared the edge and Pip collapsed, exhausted. Danny pulled the dragon close. Through their bond, he felt Pip's determination mixed with failing strength. The cold was too much. Then Danny saw it. Steam rising from the ground a quarter-mile away. The geothermal zone. Volcanic vents that stayed hot year-round. Melting snow in a perfect circle of bare ground. He stumbled forward, carrying Pip now. The dragon had gone limp, scales completely gray. Danny's own body was shutting down from cold and injury, but he did not stop, could not stop. The ground changed from ice to warm stone. Steam hit Danny's face, and he almost cried with relief. He set Pip directly on a thermal vent where heat poured from the earth. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then color flooded back into Pip's scales. Purple, gold, hints of red Danny had never seen. The dragon's eyes opened and focused on Danny. Pip stood up on shaky legs and spread wings over the heat vent. The dragon's whole body began to glow. Not just scales, but from inside, like Pip had swallowed fire. The glow intensified until Danny had to shield his eyes. When he looked again, Pip was different. Bigger, brighter. Scales formed patterns that seemed to shift and move. The dragon looked at Danny, and Danny felt something new in their bond. Not just emotions. Actual words. Danny. Pip's voice echoed in his mind, clear as spoken speech. You're hurt. Danny stared in shock. You can talk. Like actually talk. The heat awakened something. Pip's mental voice was young but clear. Ancient memories. I understand now what I am. What we are together. Pip placed a glowing claw on Danny's broken shoulder. Warmth spread through the injury, not healing it completely, but easing the pain. Through their bond, Danny felt Pip's love, so clearly now. No longer just an emotional sense, but actual conscious thought. I've been trying to tell you something since you found me, Pip continued, but I couldn't form words until now. Images flooded Danny's mind. The transport ship, not a simple crash. Pirates attacking, trying to steal rare creatures for black markets. Escape pods launching in panic. Baby starwings scattered across Earth. My brothers and sisters. Pip's voice cracked with emotion. I can feel them. Faint, but there. 3 others survived. They're calling for help, but no one can hear them. Danny pulled up the emergency beacon on his data pad with shaking hands. He could contact the station, but that would give away their position. The GWA would be on them in minutes. Through the bond, he felt Pip's conflict. Safety versus family. The dragon looked at Danny with those golden eyes now filled with intelligence and awareness. We have to save them. Don't we? Pip pressed close. You're already hurt. The GWA is hunting us. This is foolish. You would do it for me? Danny said. That's what being bonded means. Protecting each other's family. Pip's scales flashed bright gold. Then we go together. Always together. Danny activated the beacon. His mother's face appeared, streaked with soot. Behind her, the station looked damaged. Danny, where are you? The GWA is tearing the place apart. Mom, there are other Starwings. Pip's siblings. They're alive and suffering. We need the scanners to find them. His mother's expression shifted from worry to determination. Send me your coordinates. Your father, and I will feed you the scanner data. But Danny, you have maybe 3 hours before the GWA tracks the signal. Ambassador Trell appeared on screen. Make that 2 hours. They have military-grade equipment. Sarada pushed into view. I will delay them however I can. But you must hurry. If the Pyroian Collective learns of more abandoned young ones, they will escalate this beyond anyone's control. The transmission ended. Danny looked at Pip, who had grown to the size of a large dog. Power radiated from scales that glowed like molten metal. 3 locations, Danny said, reading the scanner data. 1 in the deep ocean, 1 in the desert, 1 in the tundra. The ocean one is dying fastest, Pip said, mental voice urgent. I can barely feel her anymore. They worked together, using resources Danny barely understood. Pip's new mental abilities helped them coordinate in ways that seemed impossible. They found a submarine at an outpost. Danny piloted it with Pip's guidance through their bond. 3 miles down in crushing darkness, they found the first escape pod. Inside was a tiny dragon with blue-green scales, barely alive. Danny named her Brooke. Pip wrapped around his sister, sharing warmth desperately. They raced to the desert next. The second sibling suffered from heat exhaustion despite being a fire-breathing dragon. Ash, with orange and black scales, recovered quickly once rescued. The third signal led them to frozen tundra. Frost, with silver-white scales, had somehow survived alone through determination. This dragon was different, adapted to cold in ways that should not be possible for a Starwing. With all 4 siblings safe, Danny turned back toward the station. His time was up. The GWA would be waiting, but he had succeeded. For baby Starwings alive because he refused to give up, the station came into view along with a dozen GWA ships surrounding it. Danny surfaced and opened the hatch. Pip flew out first, siblings following carefully. Commander Rick stood on the dock in environmental armor, flanked by armed troops. Daniel Webb surrendered the unregistered creatures immediately. Danny climbed out painfully, for baby dragons clustered around him protectively. No. Child, you're in violation of 17 galactic statutes. Commander Rick stepped closer. Release the creatures or face severe consequences. Pip moved in front of Danny. Wings spread protectively. The 3 siblings formed a protective circle despite being weak and young. These aren't creatures, Danny said loudly. They're people. They think and feel and choose. Pip's voice suddenly amplified, broadcasting telepathically to everyone present. Danny found me freezing and dying. He saved me when he didn't have to. He got hurt defending me. He risked everything to save my brothers and sisters. And you want to separate us because your laws say humans aren't good enough. Everyone froze. A baby dragon had just spoken telepathically to dozens of beings simultaneously. Brooke added her voice, weaker but clear. He named me, gave me identity when I was just a dying thing in a pod. Ash chirped agreement. He's braver than most warriors I'll meet in my long life. Even Frost spoke quiet but firm. He saw us as people worth saving. A hologram appeared showing an assembly of alien dignitaries. The Galactic Council itself, broadcasting from light years away. We have been observing these events, the speaker said. The human child's actions have raised significant questions about our policies. Commander Ricks stood at attention. Council members, I was simply enforcing established protocols. Protocols that clearly need revision, another council member said. Daniel Webb, the Galactic Council recognizes your bond with the Starwing Pip and extend provisional guardianship of all 4 siblings. Danny could barely breathe. You mean we can stay together? Furthermore, the council continued, your case has revealed a troubling pattern. We can no longer ignore the evidence. Humans possess unique qualities that make them suitable companions for species we previously thought incompatible. 6 months later, Danny stood in the expanded sanctuary wing. The place housed 12 rescued alien creatures now, all brought by humans who had bonded with them secretly. Pip had grown to the size of a pony, scales brilliant purple and gold. The dragon lounged in a thermal vent while Brooke, Ash, and Frost played nearby. Danny's story had spread across the galaxy, but Danny did not care about fame. He cared about the dragon pressed against his side as he did homework, sharing warmth and companionship. Snow fell outside as it always did in Alaska, but the sanctuary stayed warm. Danny sat with Pip, and the siblings gathered around him. Do you ever regret it? Pip asked through the bond. Danny wrapped his arms around Pip's neck. Finding you in that blizzard was the best thing that ever happened to me. They were family now, bound by choice and love and a connection that had changed how an entire galaxy understood what was possible.